The rise and fall and rise of Vas Tego charts one man's struggle to cope with the provisos of instant fame before he turned his back on celebrity altogether, only to then become a celebrity again, but this time in his own right. Vas Tego became an overnight sensation in the new millennium as the frontman of new wave punk band The Greasy People.
So here you are, only a year after forming the Greasy People, and you're on Jules Holland. I mean, how did you cope with that attention?
Well, I didn't really like the idea of fame, and I didn't welcome it. But I did an interview with the NME in which they told me that Dizzy Rascal wanted to collaborate with me.
What did you tell them?
Well, I called him the white Malcolm X. I just thought he was tagging on to white indie bands he had no interest in, in the vain attempt to increase popularity. I'd say that to my mates, but it always fell on deaf ears.
Then what happened?
Well, they put the Malcolm X quote over a 2-page spread, and everyone was talking about the comments I made. It made me feel right important.
Then what happened?
I started to have problems. I had a drug addiction. So I went on that TV show, The Priory, but they didn't give a shit. Then I went to the Priory and I got therapy, but it just wasn't enough. But one day I was photographed outside the clinic and I saw it in the paper. It suddenly made going to the Priory more desirable.
How did that make you feel?
Well, it made me feel like I wasn't alone. Like people knew that I had a problem. I attracted more attention, more sympathy. It was the start of a new addiction though. Every time I had a problem, I'd make sure it got out into the public. I couldn't internalise my woes anymore. I got off on the attention.
Then what happened?
The 3am girls named me best dressed male, and I was chuffed if I'm honest. And I got conscious of the way I dressed. I got a pair of shoes from Clark's, and I thought they were fucking bossy. Next day, my photos were in the gossip column, an article on how the modest kid from Gateshead was setting trends for the school kids. I felt like Alan Shearer.
Then what happened?
Well, it got too much. I was pestered by the paparazzi. That's why I never wanted fame in the first place.
Then what happened?
Well, I quit being a celebrity. I didn't want it anymore. So I made an hour-long documentary charting my transition.
A sort of rags to riches story.
Aye, that's it.
So what happened then?
Well, I started writing plays in tiny theatres. It was great at first doing something creditable, but with the freedom but I had a problem.
What happened?
I wrote a play about this character that sees the second coming of Christ in his backyard in Middlesbrough. So Jesus tells him it's his duty from God to remove one evil from the world on the consensus of his witnesses. But he only has one. So it's up to the guy. So the guy has a think, and he says wasps. So he grants his request, and all the wasps disappear. Well, he starts getting complaints, like letters from Catholics asking him why he didn't want to get rid of Protestants. And he had liberals visiting him asking him why he didn't choose war. Well, he said, look, this is why I said wasps, because you lot can't make your mind up. If Christ had come to you, you wouldn't have come to this agreement. So I came up with something that you all wanted to see the back of. If you want world peace, you're going to have to come together and work it out yourself.
Then what happened?
Well, the play got slammed, didn't it? I had Protestants telling me I should have said Catholics, and I had extremists saying I should have said liberals.
So then what happened?
Well, I found it hard to cope on my own, so I opened up to a couple of friends, but it wasn't enough. I wanted everyone to know my problem. I realised I'd been using the British public for therapy, like Michael Barrymore. So I had to fill the void somehow. I didn't know what to do, but then someone told me about Facebook. I mean, I'd always been above it as a celebrity, but then I went on it and I noticed that I had death threats from militant activists.
So what happened then?
Well, I couldn't believe it. I got loads of encouragement from all my friends, and even people I didn't count as friends. I felt like a celeb again. It was great. I started getting loads of shit off my chest, and my status just soared.
And what happened?
I started going into finer detail. Like I said, I'd been to Camelot with my niece, and I got 38 replies. So I thought I'd tell him about my trip home, and I got even more feedback. So then I went into specific detail. I told him about the songs I'd heard on the radio in the car, and I mean the numbers just kept going up.
And then what happened?
That was great, but it got a bit ridiculous. I found myself talking about every area of my life. The more ordinary the event, the more replies I got. I'd open a packet of crisps, and I just felt that I had to write about it. I felt like the fucking Prime Minister. Everything I published got debated and deconstructed. Well, I got up one day and I had a Twix and I decided to chew off the top half. You know the caramel section on the top, which left the biscuit exposed a bit, and the next thing I saw there were holes in the biscuit that I hadn't noticed before. So I went on Facebook and I made a group and called it "When you just eat the caramel off a Twix, the base looks like a wooden flute." I had 1,000 followers on the first day.
And what happened?
The same thing that happened at the end of my celebrity. I decided I had more to give, and so I packed in the routine, tedious comments. So I'm watching the London March 26 protest on the BBC as the anarchists are trashing the building. Matthew Sinclair's in the studio, and he says that the protest is invalid because they're being unrealistic if they think that trashing buildings will stop the cuts. So I thought I've got to challenge this, and I went straight to my status bar and I typed, "It wasn't about protesting the cuts. It was about showing the country the illusion of power." And like Beethoven when he finished the Ninth Symphony, I stepped back from my keyboard smugly and waited the response.
And what happened?
The only thing I'd got was a thumbs up from my best mate. I thought it was just a one-off, so I tried another. I sent a link to a video that proved the government are holding back the cure to cancer and that the whole world should know about it.
And what happened?
I didn't even get a thumbs up. I went on Twitter, but it was no good. By the time I signed up, Stephen Fry had taken over my entire target audience. I realised I was better off internalising after all. And then what happened?
Sorry?
What?
Hey? Hey? Sorry?